I woke in the room, cold as the doom. Ghosts whispered secrets of doom. Eyes wide open, felt the gloom. In that house, shadows consume.
Hello out there in podcast land. This is your humble host, your ghost host with the most here, okay? This is Dennis Carroll, and this is Hunting the Shadows, okay? I hope everybody's having a good night out there. You ready to go hunt some shadows with us? We're on the hunt tonight. Absolutely. It's a cold, dark night outside right now, and this is a perfect night for some warm hearts to get together, and that's us. And I see the chat room is starting to load up a little bit there. Hello, Catherine, Wizard Moon, Shiro, and Midwest Night Watchers, my brother. And Monica Davies, Devea. I think I'm not pronouncing your name right. Deveas. Let's see. Dragonfly. If I'm not, you can hit me upside the head next time you see me, okay? And let's see. Who else we got coming here? There is the mother of Gus, the girl in her gong. Hello, dear. Gus sends his love to everyone. All right. He's doing better. That's good. Glad to hear that little nipper's zipping around maybe again. And keep an eye on him. Definitely. And Blazer. Hello, Blazer's in the house. So we're starting to load up good tonight. I have a very special guest tonight, okay? He is a good friend of mine. He is my man in L.A. That's right, the city of, I like to call Los Angeles, okay? And that's my little nickname for it. I pick on California a lot, but I love California, okay? I love everybody in California, but I like to pick on them a little bit. If I didn't pick on you, I don't like you, okay? So I pick on them a little bit, definitely. But I pick on some other people too. But I'm not gonna pick on this guy tonight though, because he's my main man, okay? And we got Bigfoot Dwarf with us in the house here tonight. And we're gonna bring him on shortly. I want to say that also I'm warning everybody, I will be on Aquarius Rising Africa tomorrow at high noon. Okay. Yep, it's gonna be high noon. And make sure to wear your guns. Never bring knives to a gunfight. Okay. No, but it's gonna be a great show. We're gonna do part 3 on the Vril. And this has been a very interesting series. So if you missed 1 and 2, you need to go back and check it out. That's Aquarius Rising South Africa tomorrow at high noon, okay? And be there or be square kind of a thing. But it's going to be great. She's a good friend of mine, Chantel. We always have a good time when we get together. And speaking of having a good time, here's somebody we can have a good time with. Mr. Bigfoot Dwarf, good evening.
Greetings. How are we sounding here? Mic check 1 2. Yeah,
good. You're sounding good.
Greetings to everyone's in chat and out in YouTube landia. Hopefully we're sounding good tonight, and I appreciate the invite, Doc Carroll, and I'm excited to be on again. Here we go. I'm just an open book right now, ready to talk about everything and anything. Quite a bit going on here in
people I like here.
Yeah, quite a bit going on here in Los Angeles. I do like calling it that myself. And yeah, you just ask away, Doc, and we could get into any rabbit holes you'd like.
That sounds good. We will definitely be going down some of those rabbit holes. Here's the interesting thing, BD, but I'm going to call you BD for short, okay? Here's the interesting thing, BD, about rabbit holes. Once you get in them, you find out there's a whole lot more rabbit holes down there, and that's the way that goes. So we'll see what happens tonight, definitely with that. But I appreciate you being here. It's an honor to have you here, sir. And um, we've been friends quite a while, and you are definitely my man in LA. Okay. And I always check with you. Been worried about you since all these fires. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The aftermath of these fires that have gone on. They have been a very, I'm not going to say a natural disaster, but very much like a natural disaster in many ways, like a hurricane or earthquake, a tornado or something. Fire can be the same way, you know, and definitely it has been that. Whether it's natural or unnatural, whatever the case may be, it's still a disaster, definitely. And I know it has affected you, all of you out there, to a great degree, and affected your lives. Definitely. And whenever you get lives disrupted by things like that, you know, some very bad things can happen. You can have, and the bad nature of some people come out, you know, like looters and all that stuff. And so, you know, but other things can happen too. And I've talked about this before. Things more like a paranormal kind of a thing can happen sometimes. Strange things go on. This happens not just during natural disasters, but sometimes during natural occurrences like eclipses of the moon or the sun, things like that. You know what I'm talking about, BD. So
Definitely.
that's what I wanted to check and see if you have you noticed anything like that in the aftermath of
Hmm. Yeah.
terrible disaster.
Yes. And even coming up before the whole fire situation, I've been paying attention to the skies out here. I ended up back in Southern California due to mysterious circumstances. I was living up in Southern Oregon and up in the Northern California area of Humboldt County for quite a bit. And yeah, we're back down here in LA, families out here, and brother and I opened up a business. And so being back in the city is definitely has been a different vibe and change of things, in my world. I was pretty much used to being out in the woods and in peace, and yeah, it's just a different, uh, completely different world than the city of Los Angeles, and we're in East Los Angeles to be exact. So quite a lot going on here, and it's always been like that in this part of LA. So one of the things I was noticing when I got back down here to LA, because I growing up out here, I grew up in Hollywood, so I was always around, like, there was always movie theaters, there's Hollywood Boulevard, and just everything that comes with Hollywood. And nowadays we're learning a lot more about a lot of the occult stuff happening and the going ons. And so yeah, we were always kind of aware of those things, but now with the internet and information moving a lot faster and stuff like that, it's really a lot of things are being I guess you could say confirmed, or yeah, just a lot of new information as well, and which I find super interesting, and is one of the topics I keep in mind. And yeah, so I've known of haunted areas, certain hotels, and a lot of haunted spots. LA is great for the paranormal type, if you're into like the ghost hunting and stuff like that. There's a whole lot out here for you to check out. And for the most part, being up north in Northern California, a Bigfoot is a thing, and that kind of fell into my world. And we could make a whole show out of that. But yeah, so I've always had Bigfoot on my mind, and it's been my main drive here online and outside. Being out in the field and everything is what drives me, is a Bigfoot topic. But with that comes all types of other the others, and there's talks of UFOs and other cryptids and stuff like that. And I was always very aware also of some of the dark stuff that you hear about Hollywood, some dark magic and practices, and you're hearing about more about rituals and weird stuff like that. And you see it in the movies, you see it in the media. You see it in a lot of things. So
That's the interesting thing, Big D, about a lot of this stuff, that went on out there. And this is strange. And I'm not just saying this is the only thing, because I've heard a lot of weird theories about all this, like particle beams and all this stuff, kind of thing. But, what they call directed weapons, and all that kind of stuff. But here's my own spin on it, and since you brought that up about some of the maybe the dark practices and things that are going on in parts of that area. It seems like that whenever there's an abundance of evil in a place, it's almost as if the earth is repulsed by it. You know what I'm saying? It's like the earth itself fights back against it. And we do know a lot of energy comes out of the earth. One of them is lightning, by the way. Okay. That's where lightning originates, folks. It doesn't come from the sky, it originates from the earth. That's where it's coming from. So you've got a lot of energy on this planet. Okay. Absolutely. This planet is a living thing. Okay. Put it that way. It's just living just as well as you and I are. Okay. And it has energy. Everything that lives outputs energy. Okay. Whatever it may be. And you definitely got that. And it's almost as if anything when this very evil thing is being done. I've noticed this my whole life. Okay. And I have seen houses that were supposed to be so evil, and places where evil things took place. I've seen them burn down, BD. Okay. And they're not there anymore. It's almost as if the earth can't take this kind of stuff. Something is like moving against it because it's so bad. It has to be eradicated eventually. You know what I'm saying? And you have to wonder about that sometimes, especially with horrific fires like this. The reason behind it, there may be a reason behind it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing that out there, but I've seen that, happen with my own eyes in certain places and certain things. I know of a building right now that I know something very bad was done in it, and it was trying to bring a demon through a portal, probably. And they were doing it. Something went wrong with the ritual, whatever it was, because it was a bad. So I won't get into that tonight. But anyway, that place burnt down to the ground not long after I saw, I was involved in this. So this has happened time after time after time. Okay. So what's your spin on that? You think maybe, this was something that was not kind of out of the natural thing going on here? I know there may have been there may be arsonists behind a lot of this. We know that. But what was their motivation? What was their intentions to do things? Maybe they were connected to this darkness that we're talking about. What do you think, man?
yeah, well, there's like again, I was talking about these the history of some of the the Hollywood scene and just this area. um Yeah, like you're saying, so could it have been something natural? Could it have been, the works of the creator, or could it have been deliberate? There's many ways to look at it, and I'm sure there's, many people got their perspectives on it. But it just didn't seem natural to me, first of all, because it's like not fire season, and the way it happened, it was just pretty strange. We did get the heads up of high winds coming our way, but there was just a lot of anomalies that have been being pointed out by different people, and we could get into those things. Some of them being these blue objects remaining. Um, there was other footage of like houses burning from the inside out, is what it was looking like. um there was other different things, and obviously, yeah, there was people. I just seen recent footage of someone being apprehended, trying starting a brush fire in a neighborhood. So it's still going on, and there's yeah, several cases where people were arrested and or caught, or seen recorded lighting fires. And yeah, it makes you wonder. There was also some really strange footage of the possible beginnings of some of these fires, and yeah, just a lot of questions, and yeah, it just doesn't seem right, and hearing from the residents themselves, and I have a buddy who lives in the Malibu area, and yeah, he thought it was all very strange. And yeah, there's stuff online that you could check out now. I was just listening earlier also to someone else who was a Malibu resident, and listening straight from him, and he's saying it, and yeah, so it makes you wonder. There has been previous events that have happened in this country that have pointed to maybe it being
Well,
deliberately done.
there are a lot of legends associated with the Santa Ana winds, and
Mm,
supposedly most of them say that when the Santa Ana winds blow, bad things happen most of the
okay.
time, and it affects people too. By the way, you've heard that, I know.
No, I haven't heard. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but I've never heard any direct legends about the Santa Ana winds. And we're very aware of the Santa Anas. I hear about them quite a bit. I've heard about them before. But I think there's a lot going on out here, and one of the things is the topic of I like to call it the old world, and I've been getting into that topic recently, and it was something that I was actually checking out while I was out here, is these old historical buildings. And in that whole topic, there's this whole interesting fire anomaly theory that tends to pop up. And when you get into that whole thing, it really it comes to mind with all this happening here. And what's interesting also is that the city of Pasadena, which is very near Altadena, where the Eaton fire, which was the second big fire that happened out here after the Palisades, Pasadena is full of these old world buildings. And yeah, so it makes you wonder if you were to think of it as yeah, if it were like a non-natural, what would they be trying to destroy by causing these fires? So I question what was in and around these fires. And it was more than one. It was several of them happening in different times, different areas. And other talks have popped up about, and I didn't really buy into this stuff, but there was talks about the Olympics coming around in 2028, and also the talks of smart cities, and then also this this train rail that's supposed to be running, I guess, from here up into the Bay Area. And some people were trying to match like the fires and where this train is supposed to run, which I didn't. I looked at a map and I didn't see any real connection there, but could be something. So there's been several talks of different things, but also the talks of these insurance companies, these fire insurance companies, people uh or home insurance companies also, that uh supposedly had, I guess, canceled some things a couple weeks before all this had happened. And yeah, it's just really odd things. And yeah, it makes you question. But anyway, I going back to strange things happening here in LA. When I got back, one of the things was outside of our shop, we started noticing I started noticing strange anomalies in the skies, these orbs and different strange objects, even some drones here and there. And that's been popping up lately. um and I started documenting this stuff and really paying attention, and started meeting up with different people, got introduced to some groups that actually go out and sky watch. And there's these one of them is actually a MUFON group, and I'm sure people have heard of MUFON. It's a MUFON Orange County. And then LA has this other group out here where they get together basically at the end of every month, and they'll get together somewhere and do these sky watches, and things do appear, that things happen. And on one of these gatherings, I met someone, and this was maybe earlier last year, and towards the end of the year before that, I became friends with this guy. And this guy was a trippy dude. He's got some magic. Everyone in these groups got something about him. There's something special about him. and just good people, good vibes. And he had shared this story with me about the Paradise Fire in California. I don't know if you remember the Paradise Fire. That was a really bad one up in Northern California, and a lot of people, perished in that one. And he was telling me something about some sort of ET race possibly living in the Paradise area, and that fire had something to do with them. He was saying something to the effects of like, yeah, they were, I guess, trying to get rid of them, or some sort of attack of some sort. And I didn't get the full story. It was just little bits of information he was telling me, and I never really looked into it after that. And now that this happened down here, so since I've been down here, I've been really looking into the history of UFOs and ETs here in the LA, Southern California area. And there's quite a bit going on here. It's a hot spot out here, LA and SoCal. And yeah, so I started finding out that there's talks of this possible base off the Malibu coast, and this is something you could look up. And yeah, they said recently, I don't know if you could even Google search it anymore. I heard last that you're not even able to Google search it, like Google map it. And but there is still some stuff online that you could check out on it, and who knows if it's true or not. But that came to mind just because of the Paradise. I mean, yeah, the Paradise situation, of course, but Palisades being right next to Malibu. And right next to Malibu, you also have Topanga Canyon, which is another hotspot for UFO activity. And there's been, people have written books on that area there as well. And I've been out with my brother over to Malibu just because I knew it was an area to have more sightings and that have had sightings. And so we went, checked it out. And sure enough, we had sightings that we recorded that night. And a lot of that stuff, a lot of my adventures you can find on the channel for sure. Um, and so, yeah, there's definitely something going on out there. Been out towards Catalina, had sightings out there too. Catalina is just right off the coast of this area as well. And just a whole lot going on off the coast of Southern California here.
It
And
is.
then also, yeah, and then also inland. And the Catalina thing, I mean, that's a whole other show in itself. You got the giants and a lot of stuff going on pertaining to the old world as well, going on there with also the UFO activity and all that. On the other end, let's see. And then Palisades also has this interesting old news report that I've been diving into lately. And I've been going live lately over on my channel talking about all these little things that we're kind of touching on tonight. There was this story that made the news, and it was of a man who was a very mysterious man. Very little was known about him, who was found deceased in the Palisades there. This was, I think, 2019 possibly. And he was there for several, I think, a couple weeks in his car. But there's this whole story behind it. And they were, I guess, I don't know if it was his wife at the time, was mentioning that he was some sort of ET hybrid. And they found all these weapons and stuff on him, over 1,000 weapons. I think it was like 1,200 or so, and all this ammunition, large amounts of cash, and then just a very unknown background. Very little known about him. And I thought that was just really interesting that that happened in the Palisades there. And so again, you got Malibu and that whole Malibu area, something maybe going on there as far as with ETs. And then the Eaton fire, that area which is up against the Angeles National Forest, the San Gabriel Mountains, which I feel there's stuff going on there. We recently got some interesting thermal footage checking out a Bigfoot report site a few months back, and we got to do a show on that as well, Doc. So there's definitely stuff going on in those mountains there, and in these different mountain ranges out here in Southern California, pertaining to like a Bigfoot and even UFO sightings and other strange stuff, hauntings and other cryptids as well. But you have the
Especially Mount
facility.
Shasta.
Yeah, well, Shasta's way north. So Shasta comes up because of Paradise. So just north of Paradise, a little bit north of Paradise, about an hour, a couple hours, the most I think it might be, is Mount Shasta. And there's been talks of the Lemurians, these ET races that are living in the mountain there underground, and that's a fascinating and interesting topic there, Mount Shasta. So Paradise not too far from there, and that's what came to mind too. I'm like, well, could there be ETs living in Paradise? Well, Shasta's not too far. So and I hear Shasta's got all these underground caverns, so we've been touching on that as well, something to keep in mind when you're diving into all this. But back to the San Gabriel, the Angeles Forest, and the Eaton Fire, that area there, you actually have NASA JPL
Of course, you got
facility.
a lot of reports, and we'll talk about that a little bit about reptilian activity of
Uh,
things going
yeah, well,
on out there.
that you get, yeah, well, that you get even in the whole Hollywood, scene, with these
Mhm.
possible actors and people behind Hollywood and some of these activities that are going on. So you get those types of reports and stuff
There's
like
something
that.
else about that too, about that, and people don't realize that. But that area, that whole area, Hollywood and all that, has a darker history that goes way back. We're not just talking about modern days; it goes back much further than that. I think
Yeah.
there have been some dark practices going on there for a long, long time.
Yeah, Los Angeles. And so, yeah, just wanted to put that out there. And that's a whole other rabbit hole there. The NASA JPL area. You got Jack Parsons, which it gets into the
Oh
whole
yeah, Jack
Babylon
Parsons, the
working.
Eagles, was involved in a lot of occult stuff.
Yes. And then L. Ron Hubbard comes up, which, there talk of ETs, and with him, it's, cults. And yeah, but they mention, they get into the ETs as well. And Aleister Crowley as
Oh yeah,
well, who was involved with Parsons and all them. So that's a whole other thing there. But that came to my that's been on my mind. And again, you got the
that kind of connects to that whole series I've been doing with South Africa Rising about the real, and they are still with us today, definitely in many aspects. They may not be calling themselves that, but anyway, all of this stuff is occultic stuff is connected, you know. And it may be, here's the interesting thing, BD, it may run into actual ET stuff. There may be an ET connection in this because the real declared that they had contacted a consciousness, a mind thing that was, definitely alien, you know. And they supposedly got downloaded information from it. Here's the interesting thing to think about. Some of these people supposedly made deals with these things, okay? They had agreements with them. You might almost call them demonic contracts, you might say, with some of these things. And there was a
very
definite
possible.
hub of this in California, and especially around the Hollywood area, definitely. So you got a lot of
Yeah.
dark history,
Yeah,
you know.
well, even right outside of LA, what is it? Was it President Eisenhower who possibly made the deals with ETs? I forget the name of the base. So maybe someone in chat could is it Edwards or but that's just right outside of LA here. And what else was it about that whole thing there?
I'm saying, the interesting thing, BD, is that I think, now I formulated my own theory on that the ETs are not really what they appear to be themselves. I believe that this is a way for the fallen angels, if you want to call them that, the ones that originally to approach mankind and do the things that they want to do and make the deals with them they want to make with them, using the guise of ETs. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and
This is
I've
another,
heard of that. And I
yeah.
can totally see how that is possible. So yes, always have that in mind. Although I do believe there is a flip side, just like everything in this realm, there's the yin and yang, the polarities, the good and bad, dark and light. So there's gotta be I'm sure our creators got some of his positive ETs out there as well.
Yeah, most of the time, that's the thing about all these ETs. They're very dark, most of them, you know. I don't see any light with them. These are not light beings. They're not really. What are they doing to help us? They're not doing anything to help us. They're not doing, I mean, you know, if you're going to be benevolent, you need to act benevolent. You know what I'm saying? These are more malevolent and not benevolent, okay, kind of beings. And that's what disturbs me about this. And usually, whenever you deal with the dark side, like you were talking about, it is very deceitful, it's very manipulative, and it is very misrepresented. It likes to misrepresent itself. You know, it likes to try to fool you and do
Yeah,
these things to you. It deals with you some darkness and shadows. And when anything does that, it's usually not only up and up. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah, no, there's that trickster element which comes up with a lot of the cryptids, a lot of the elementals, and
Mhm.
yeah, you
And
know, the
even
fae.
and even the trickster thing, even the trickster thing is not nice. It's not good to trick people. You know, that's usually sort of a sadistic part of it that likes to play around with you, like a cat with a mouse. Have you ever seen that? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not a good way. It's not a good way to be treated.
No, no, no. And another thing is that yeah, that and I keep that in mind because that's also in the Bigfoot world. It's a thing, you know. They're known to be tricksters as well. They're called sometimes referred to as like some sort of Indian devil, creek devils, mountain devils. There's these devil
Mhm.
terms to them, so it makes you wonder. Yeah, there's also the talks of them being possibly demonic. You know, there's what is it? Is it the Book of
That's
Enoch?
why
Um,
the coyote is called the trickster. You know, he's kind of the representative of that.
mhm.
And it goes back to the you know, the Nordic gods, like the ones that, you know, what's his name, that that does the trickster type stuff. What's his name? I can't think of it. Loki.
Okay,
And
yeah, Loki.
yeah, it's like him.
Um,
You have this thing and popping up in every culture, kind of a thing. This trickster thing, and even the Sasquatch. By the way, we'll get into that. The Sasquatch is very supposed to be very good at imitating sounds and stuff. Just and this is not just doing it to fool people. They're doing it to survive, kind of a thing, to lead you away from them or whatever the situation is. It's not a trickster thing, like, but it's more or less like trying to get you to do to manipulate you a little bit in their area as a way for them to survive or hide and keep away from you, you know, kind of a thing. That's what I think their basic motives are in that.
yeah, interesting. And there's also the fool, the Joker, um, the
Hmm.
trickster. There's that whole you know thing there with that comes to mind. But yeah, so I was wondering also. So there was another thing having to do with some of us have been noticing. So there's been several people that we've been in contact with each other from this area out here, and we've all been capturing these anomalies in the sky that I've been mentioning. And it's interesting because one of them, uh Dr. Shipe, who has a channel, Custodian Files, and he focuses on these particular types of objects zipping by our videos, which we believe are a type of UFO. He's actually in the what is it? Marina del Rey area of Los Angeles, which is a little further down from, Malibu and Palisades and all that area. Once again, he's on the coast, and he's actually noticing that these objects seem to be coming out of these jetty rocks right off the the beach there.
Now
And
you got a lot of reports of UFOs supposedly coming out of the water,
yeah,
you know,
oh
and,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
going
yeah,
into water.
yes,
Matter of fact,
and
where I live, BD, we have a very famous UFO incident that happened here, and here it was connected with water. Matter of fact, this UFO was taking water out of a lake. That's interesting. Whenever you get, here's the thing about it: whenever you get around bodies of water, weird things happen. You can expect that sort of thing. I think it's sort of like a conductor for that. But it would not surprise me if UFOs are not, having bases underwater or whatever the situation. That would be the perfect place to hide when you think about it, folks.
Oh
That's
yeah.
better than a
And
cave system. You go under the water.
yes, and so there's a lot of talks of these USOs, especially around Catalina, and all around the coast here, and of course all around the world. But another interesting point was that Dr. Shipe is over right on the coast, Marina Del Rey, and he's getting these videos of them coming out of the Jetty Rocks, and those same objects over here in my area, I haven't been able to pinpoint, but I have had also the theory that they're coming from the ground somewhere. Sometimes these objects also come from the sky and seem to like disappear before hitting the ground and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if there are these things going in the ground. And another good friend of ours, whose mother was affected by the Eaton fire, and Latchkey Hustle, he's got videos from, and he's very near where the NASA, the Eaton Fire, NASA JPL, and all that, the Pasadena area. He's getting footage of these things also coming out of the mountain, and which I find fascinating. And another thing that comes up was that let's see, where were we going here?
That
Yeah, so
always reminds me. Let me ask you a question.
the underground, and then yeah, you even right before we jumped on here, you wanted to touch on the whole reptilian and the underground caverns that are supposedly under Los Angeles here, and it's actually, they say, according to that map, it's all along the east side of Los Angeles here, with I think one point starting up at Elysian Park, which is very near a Dodger Stadium. And yeah, those are all areas I know pretty well, and haven't been there in a while. And Elysian Park is actually a hotspot where these UFO groups get together at as well. So it's a known spot for sky watching and having activity. So another thing to keep in mind there. And yeah, so quite a bit going on out here. And then so kind of to put another perspective on this type of activity out here and during these fires, was that people were capturing during live news. The news was taking footage of the fires, from helicopters and stuff like that, and people were spotting these what looked like UFOs flying by. I don't know if you got to see any of that footage, but it was making the rounds over on TikTok and the other platforms.
Yeah, I saw
And
some of that. Yeah.
yeah, what was also interesting is that I think I mentioned a buddy of mine living very near Malibu, lives in the Malibu area, and he actually is the one who put me on to some of these groups. So he's very much into this and aware of a lot of things going on in that world here. But he got footage also of the fires and got these strange, weird looking anomalies, orb like anomalies. And yeah, we shared some of that. He gave me permission to share. And so what was going on while these fires were burning. It's like UFO activity as well. It makes you wonder. I don't know if people out there got to check that out, but I would have thought it would have made more waves out in the you know on the internet and beyond, but didn't seem like it.
That's the interesting thing about some of these things. What I've always said about, especially when it comes to the media, what's not being said, or a lot of distraction. They try to distract you from one thing to another, and they're manipulating you. They're guiding you the way they want you to go, and they don't want you to see certain things or even talk about certain things. That's the way they work. The way they operate. But let me say this, and since you're talking about, we're getting kind of deep into UFOs tonight, and it's connected to certain reptilian activity. But the UFOs thing, have you noticed this? I've had a lot of cases where people have actually been haunted by these things. I mean, they follow them around. They see them all the time. I got one guy that has been harassed by these things for so long. He says that, he told me, Dr. Curl, when I go outside, I don't even want to look up anymore. I don't want to look at the sky because I'm scared of what I'm going to see, because they seem to follow him around. They signal him. They do. They kind of buzz his house a little bit sometimes. He says sometimes when I'm asleep at night, they wake me up with weird noises, coming from above my house. This is harassment, they do, no matter which way you look at it. I call it haunting. It is almost like a haunting. And that's going on a lot. I mean, I've run into a lot of cases of this, with this happening. And let me say this, folks: if you ever signal, it's not a good idea to signal these guys with a flashlight or anything like that. It's not a good idea to do that. You might open up a can of worms you don't want to leave. You don't want to open here. And I think one of the cases that I got happened to be that they actually signaled these things with a flashlight, and now they've got them. They got them all the time, messing with them. So it's a good idea you leave stuff alone like that, because you're dealing with a very unknown factor here. But have you had any cases or heard anything like that?
Oh yeah, I like using my little green laser sometimes to activate them. I call them out. I've tried, what people call CE5, and that does work. And about the case of that man being haunted and tormented, it makes me wonder, because I do think there's something. Uh, Obviously, consciousness is involved with all this, so there's something with the consciousness. You got to be
You touch
conscious
the
to be able to.
darkness. You're kind of touching the darkness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it depends. What are you projecting? Is that what you're projecting? Is it fear and darkness, and then I would imagine you're going to get results like that, where craft, entities, beings of that field were, the law of attraction. You're going to attract that. And on the opposite end, if you're projecting and coming from a different place, a more positive, solid place, if you're in touch with your creator or whatever it is that you may believe in, will you get different results? Because and I, again, keeping the trickster element in mind, I believe a lot of the sightings that I've had and captured have been, I mean, I could say they haven't been really negative. I haven't, noticed anything really negative. And if I did, I would definitely back off from it. And but like I said, you never know with these things. They could lure you in many ways, so you got to be careful. But I'm very much, I believe in a God, and I believe in it in my way, and respect everyone else's way of believing in whatever it is that they believe in. But yeah, I do believe that the Lord has has his angels, has its beings, and they are
Yeah.
out there as well. And again, and it's easier. I think it's a lot easier to tap into the negative stuff, whether it be through drugs, alcohol, or other negative things that are out there. Um, that is so much easier to do bad than it is to do good. And that's, again, a perception that I think that's been put onto us on many levels. And because I think it's maybe easier to do good than it is bad. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's strange, but I always definitely keep that in mind, how easily we can be tricked out here. So yes.
It always it always reminds me of V. You remember the TV series V? They came as friends. We're the visitors. We're here to help you, kind of thing. And they were eating people. Okay, that's
Oh
the way
yeah,
that
that
usually
was,
goes. But
yeah. They used to
let
peel
me say
the.
this: you're very right on the mark, and these things pick up on your intentions, and you have to be very careful. When you deal with something like that, and like say, you don't want to get some things attention uh, because they might, start harassing you like this. But I've also got reports too of these reptilian things being seen I'm talking about in LA itself. Okay, some of these things have been harassing people. Some of these things have been have openly attacked some people. I got one report of a man and a woman that were going one night to their truck. It was, I think, leaving an apartment building, going to the truck, and the guy says, "Oh, wait a minute," to his girlfriend. Says, "Going on to the truck, I forgot the keys," and goes back in to get the keys, and while she's standing there, she hears something, and she turns around, and there's like a grating there, like a grating. And he said this thing comes out of the grating, and it wiggles itself out. It's very much like, how snakes can get in a very small hole. Reptiles can do that. They can kind of dislocate their bones and do stuff like that. And so that's the way this thing was doing it. And it come out of this sewer grating here thing, a gutter or rain grating, I guess you might call it, something like that.
Yikes.
And said she's standing there looking. Said, "What the heck is that?" It's not an alligator or anything like that. And said that thing comes out, and boy, she scares her to death. She loses it. She jumps in the back of the guy's truck. To get off the ground, and that is the first thing that comes to your mind. To get it, put some distance between you and whatever it is that's coming after you. And that's what she done. She started screaming for her boyfriend, to come out. Said, "This thing come out." And it was stood up, and it was a reptilian looking thing. And said, and when the boyfriend hit the steps on the way down to the, he finally come out, that thing turned and booked it on back toward down an alley or something somewhere. So you got a lot of reports of aliens being actually alien type reptilians being seen
Yeah.
in Los Angeles, and also supposedly unaliving some of the homeless people. Have you heard about any of that?
Yeah, I haven't. I wouldn't doubt it. I do question it. We did do a show with Jessica Jones on the possible, homeless and the dogman situation that we were hearing about. But yeah, I do wonder about some of the people that end up missing out here. Are they being abducted by ETs of some sort, or UFOs? Um, yeah, da, 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 da. Yeah, as far as people and like, yeah, there's one guy I remember I used to see on Hollywood Boulevard, and this was way back in the day, and he was had all these scales tattooed. It was before face tattoos were all popular. People are all blasted up now with face tats. Um, he had his whole body, it seemed, tattooed with these scales, and he had like these bolts on his forehead, and so he was like totally, it looked like a reptile. And do believe he had his tongue split. And I would see him on Hollywood Boulevard sometimes. And this is a long time ago. And to me, he was like, oh, yeah, the reptile dude. But then I believe also that people, when they are in certain states of mind, being altered states of mind due to drugs, alcohol, or just rage, even, um, that they are letting some of these types of entities in, and that they could, yeah, shape shift into whatever it may be, demonic, or there's maybe different labels for the same thing, or maybe there is different types of creatures or demons that could get labeled, certain things. Maybe some are more reptile, more werewolf, maybe more vampiric. I do believe all those things are going on. And yeah, there is people that practice vampirism. Is that the term? Um, and different strange things out here on a human level. And then you got people living under the city as well. And I could only imagine those mind states and what those entities are. I think a lot of people out here are there's a lot of mental health issues, and I think those mental health issues could be these entities. And yeah, very 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 strange stuff going on out here. And I think normal people don't do these types of things. We were talking about the other day, this is heads up, really graphic, and I'll do the best to describe it without being so graphic. But several months back, there was a guy, and I got confused. I thought it was out here in Southern California, but I think it was Central California, up in Wasco. And someone had gotten hit by a train, and this guy, this other guy, I guess off the street, came by and picked up a part of the body and began consuming it. And that to me is not, normal human behavior. I mean, I don't know, but I think things like that are examples of these types of possessions that, they call them attachments or however you want to put it. And some of these people, get possessed not by choice. Even they don't know that they're possessed and may have several attachments, several types of these entities
That's
going
a
on. You know,
interesting, interesting point you bring up because this is a well-known fact that in certain ceremonies that they do and certain things that they do and dark witchcraft, satanic things. Uh, it is a big part of the ritual to consume human flesh. And here's the interesting thing: it seems the more evil you get, the more this evil infests your body, the more you want to do that, and especially to young children, by the way. And that's where a lot of the werewolf legends began and stuff like that because of these things actually wanting to consume humans. That is, folks, part of the deal when you kind of go to the devil, so to speak, when you kind of go evil, when you go 100% dark. This is part of your hunger. It's almost like these animals you hear about. They become man eaters, because they taste human flesh and blood and all that stuff. And that's exactly what's going on with this darkness that's in your soul. It does you that way. And I'm not saying that everyone that does it turns into a cannibal, but I mean, it is a draw for you, definitely. And when you get into the things about reptilians, and they do supposedly eat people, by the way, forget about I'm talking about the reptilians here now. Los Angeles and that whole area there has a history of supposed reptilian activity underground. Okay, there's a reason for these legends and stories. There's, like I say, my favorite quote, and I quoted today on Jessica's show that I did. And we did a fantastic show today. If any of you missed it, go check it out. But it was really good. It was about bat squatch, by the way. Anyway, the interesting thing about this is that every myth and legend known to mankind is not without its authentic foundation. It must begin somewhere. And when you start telling me stories about reptiles in LA and all that, I pay attention because there's got to be a reason for that. You know what I'm saying, BD? You always go back to the origin of in the beginning of stories to find out exactly what the real reason is behind it, you know. And
yeah,
that's what I see going on with this, with all this reptilian activity and all this stuff. Is also connected supposedly to this dark satanic stuff that's going on. And by the way, one more thing, I'll let you get back to what you were saying, but the one other big connection to this is yes, you can get enough demonic evil power to become a werewolf, you can become a vampire, you can become a tiger or a leopard or anything like that. Or you can also become a reptilian looking thing too. Okay. That's the way that goes as well.
yeah. I had my little niece here. She's they're saying goodbye. They were next door working, printing some shirts. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. And then, yeah, going back to cool show that you did earlier with Jess. And I did want to, I think I might have touched on it earlier I did a little live after that too. But yes, the gargoyles, I wanted to touch on something about that too. That also comes up with this old world topic. So I think again, we're talking about these different things, and I keep mentioning the old world and the they call it Tartarian. I like to call it old world. There's something to that whole topic there, and it has to do with, again, a lot of these buildings that have been repurposed, and even downtown right here, again, speaking of keeping it in Southern California, there's quite a bit of exploring that I've done on certain buildings and stuff like that. And some of these buildings do have gargoyles. And yeah, the gargoyles, from what I've heard, were, protecting something. And yeah, there's a whole thing behind it. And, it pops up in the old world topic as well. So, little more information on the topic you were touching on earlier. there's definitely something with these buildings and these gargoyles. So
That's another thing you got out there too, by the way. There are reports of buildings in LA that are not really buildings. They're not what they appear to be. That's an interesting thing too. I've heard several reports about people trying to get in or going into these buildings and finding out they're completely different on the inside of what they supposedly should be. There's something kind of crazy going on with that too.
yeah,
Um,
and
it's
keep
almost as if some of these buildings are holographic or something,
mm,
or
interesting.
existing. Here's another thing to think about. They're like almost existing in somewhat like a parallel or a another dimensional type thing. I mean, one story about a mailman out there that actually went in one of these buildings one day was and there were men standing. There were basically men in black around this building. Okay, and when he got in the building, he said when he walked in the building was kind of a small building, and when he got in it, it was like 4 times bigger inside than it was on the outside. And this really freaked. This is the thing that freaked him out. What's going on here? This is not the building I walked into. Kind of thing. That would have to freak anybody out. And
Yeah, there's people. Yeah, I was
he
gonna say there's
said
people
something
that have.
about it later. He said something about it later to one of his supervisors or something, and he said, "Well, it's just good not to say anything about that. Don't talk about that."
Yeah, there's been talks of um that in with UFO abductions and stuff like that. People will see a craft, and once they are up on the ship, that the inside of the ship is a lot bigger than what it seemed. So that's super interesting. And also, yeah, I think last time we talked, we also briefly touched on yeah, some of the buildings out here. I seen a young guy do some some documenting, and maybe a documentary. I think it might have spliced it up into little videos, but about these buildings that were covering up these old oil what do you call them? These oil rigs, I guess you could call them, that were all around LA, and these buildings are basically covering those up, and there is no access to those buildings. Another thing I wanted to mention, that a lot of these old world buildings seem to go underground. So keep that in mind as we talk about these different underground things, caverns, and different uh, uh, other things we mentioned tonight. Also, today I was watching, while we are still talking about the underground and stuff, there was some information I was checking out having to do with all this topic, and catacombs being found under churches, and that whole can of worms. So yeah, keep an eye out for stuff like that. A lot of stuff I share over on my channel. I do share out other channels and links to things. And so yeah, come hang out, come check it out, and come share what you got. Yeah.
I have to
We
mention,
could go so many ways with this. It's awesome.
I'll have to mention that to Jessica sometime. That would be a great show to do on these strange places like this. That weird stuff's going on. I would call it strange locations, I guess, or something like that. That where all this stuff's going on. You have to wonder about some of these things. BD being a front for something else. You know what I'm saying? Appearing to be something different. But anyway, that's some weird stuff. And you know what? A lot of people that may walk into these things may not walk out. Kind of like a Roach Motel. I remember the Roach Motel. They go in, but they check in, but they don't check out. And
Oh
that may be kind of like the Hotel California. Okay, they may be checking in,
yeah.
but they're not checking out. You can't
Well,
leave.
turn
But
turn the lights on and watch them scatter.
yeah,
Yeah, and really quick, again, I believe what's happening here also on a worldwide scale is that a lot of these old occult religions or cultures, uh, I think these modern day so-called secret societies and societies are practicing these old things and kind of just
oh
uh
yeah.
flipping it on us. So stay on your toes, folks. A lot of stuff is inverted that they do, and
Mm.
so you gotta put on those
Jessica,
special glasses.
that's the thing what you hit on with the gargoyles, and what we're talking about today. They are brought forth sometimes. I mentioned this on Jessica's show, and then get deep into it. Gargoyles supposed to are really demonic beings. That's what they not only represent them, they are these beings supposedly, and they can be brought forth from the darkness to be guardians. Okay, like watchdogs. Okay, and supposedly they will sit up there all day acting like statues until they're needed, until you break the perimeter around them or whatever the situation is. Then they come alive and come after you. That's the way the gargoyles are supposed to work. But isn't it strange that they are always on or put in some of these places, even not that's not even churches. They're different areas and different places that you see these gargoyles pop up. But it's interesting to note that that is what it supposedly is, a guardian demon type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if a gargoyle could just, uh, break out of that petrification. And I do believe there's a lot of other things around this planet that may be told to us that are some sort of geological thing, but maybe it's a remnants of strange creatures and other giants and whatnot. DNA your rocks. DNA check your rocks, folks. You might find some blood in there still.
But that's what, I mentioned a lot of times too, and you've heard me mention this with people like you and me that go out in the woods and looking for different things, whether it be Bigfoot or Dogman, and, whatever the situation. If you're doing monster hunting, okay, put it that way. If you're doing some monster hunting, you got to be careful because you can sometimes walk up on these ritual areas where they're doing some of this stuff. And it's a good idea to vacate the premises very quickly, okay, because these areas are being watched. They actually, here's what they call them, okay? This is what the actual title for these things are: sealed areas. They seal these places. In other words, they fix them so that they know when you come into them or you mess around them, and they've got guardians set on them. These may be what we used to call the lurker demons and stuff like that. They put guardians in these places. And that's why I say you need to leave, because it's not something, it's not usually the possibility you seeing something, but it's the possibility you may be unalive because you're in the very wrong spot you should be. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
so what is that old saying? Discretion is the better part of valor. It might be time for you to back off on that because you've walked into a very unsafe area.
Yes.
And I caution people that do that. And I've walked out my own self several times. I've come upon areas like this,
Yeah.
and you probably have too. I know you got to be very careful. You
Yeah,
know.
it happened recently, actually. Well, we didn't walk up on anything, but we were warned actually by CHP. So I talked about this interesting thermal footage that we got heading up to a Bigfoot report site. We did an overnight thing, got this interesting footage there. But right as we got to this campsite, there was and this is up in the mountains here in the Angeles Forest. There was a car flipped over. There was CHP there, and CHP had us wait until they cleared the whole scene and everything. And he came and gave us a warning about cults being up in the area and that there's been some unalivings and all that. So we got the warning from him, and then we got part of that on video and put it together on the video. So yeah, it is real.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. I've kind of been working on the theory, thinking about it, that maybe Dogman, is territorial. He may start hunting you when you walk into his territory. You know what I'm saying? A lot of animals are very territorial, and dogs are definitely one of them. They don't want other dogs coming in. They're at their territory. They mark their territory all the time. Most of the time when they're peeing folks, they're not peeing. They're marking their area. Okay, that's just the way dogs and wolves do. By the way, they do that thing, and they're putting down a scent for other animals, other wolves to say, "Hey, this is my territory. Leave it alone," kind of a thing. And we've got to understand maybe other things are doing that. And I wonder if maybe that's not an attribute of Dogman, that he begins stalking you just like a big cat would. once you get in their area, they know you're there. And I've told this to a lot of people, and I think you agree with me, BD, on this. When you can be 4 or 5 miles out, and they know you're there. Okay, they know you're there. I can doubt it. I mean, the Bigfoot I knew that I walked into, I don't think I surprised him. You know, because I think he knew something was going on. They're very astute because that's part of their survival thing to be able to know. And I think they're very sensitive. I think they pick up not only you being there, but your intentions as well. In that respect, I think they're very spiritual type creatures in that respect. Anyway,
Agreed.
I think they know you're there 5 miles out. You know what I mean? It's like we used to have a joke about this, and I used to go deer hunting. I don't hunt anymore. I don't like the idea of killing something that really doesn't need to be killed. Okay, if it's not bothering you, then don't leave it alone, kind of thing. But here's the thing about it. Okay, we used to joke about this. People go deer hunting and they go out there smoking cigarettes, or drinking the beer and all that, making a lot of noise on that. And I say deer, and I would tell them, what's the point here? The deer has done run away because he heard you a long time ago. You scared him off, just like fishing. There's certain things you don't hit the water when you go fishing. You know, it don't make sense, and you got to be, and that's why I say, and a lot of people say, how do I hunt Bigfoot? How do I hunt your dog, man? Well, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and you better do it the right way because that's what's going to get you results. The wrong way definitely ain't going to do it. But you can't just, think you're going to walk out in the woods and walk up on this thing because it knows you're there most of the time. The best way to see it is to sit down for a few hours and watch and wait. That's the best way to see these things. If you accidentally walk up on a Bigfoot or a dog, man, you are incredibly lucky. You know what I'm saying? In that respect, you agree with me on that?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things you never know, where they may be. It's yeah, it's just random. And but yeah, I do believe that they could most likely sense us and sense us from afar. Obviously hear us and smell us. I do agree with that as well. But yeah, there's I do believe there's something special about these beings, for them to be able to be out in the cold or just be barefoot in those elements is just amazing itself. So yeah, there's definitely something special about the Sasquatch and obviously these other
Mhm.
creatures. But yeah, it's the Sasquatch is one that fascinates me and keeps me going again. And yeah, I'd like to learn more about it, even if it becomes a dark thing. There's different stories from different tribes. There's some tribes that believe they were a positive thing, and others the opposite. So who knows? And people talk about different varieties of them and different types. If that's true, maybe some of these different types have different attitudes. So there's only one way to find out, Doc.
That's the interesting thing. I'm gonna mention this to everybody. Here's the thing about it. Once you see Bigfoot, okay, you really get hooked in. You know what I'm saying? it doesn't stop there. You want to see more. Okay, it's just something. That's what happened to me that night. A lot of people say, "Why did you run away?" I said, "Heck, no, I ran to it. I wanted to see more of it." That's where it starts. That's what begins. And I had caught glimpses of Bigfoot, several times before this, but to actually have an encounter like that is what did it for me. I was hooked, definitely for that. I wanted to see more. I still want to see more of it. It's a fascinating thing. It absolutely is. It's very addictive. Okay, in that respect. But here's the interesting thing. What you brought up, and it's very true that he knows you're out there. He knows when you're out. He can smell us. They can feel us, and so that's why I say it's a good idea to sit down and watch and wait and kind of become part of the environment. And then he kind of knows you're not, out there for maybe bad purposes. You know what I'm saying? I think they're picking up on that. They know it and they're watching us. They're watching your actions and what you're doing. If you're locked and loaded with a big gun, would you come out? I wouldn't.
No.
If you're sitting out there with a big gun, I'm not coming out. No. I mean, well, come on. And he's got more sense. Bigfoot's a lot smarter than that. Okay. He's not going to do that either. And he's not going to let you play Chuck Norris with him. Okay. It just ain't going to work. But I think you got to go about it the right way. You got to become part of the environment, show them that you're there and your intentions are good. You're not there to hurt anything. You respect the environment. You respect the land. It's sort of like becoming one with the land. They begin to feel, I think, that, hey, maybe you're okay. And that's when you're going to have maybe an interaction with it. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're looking for, some kind of interaction. That's the way to go about it. There's a smart way, a right way, and a wrong way.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there's some out there that believe that Bigfoot represents honesty. Some tribes out there as well, and I like that. That has really helped me a lot in my life, and yeah, I think there's something to that as well. So maybe they're not all devils.
That's true.
Yep, the
Yeah.
Bigfoot saw Blazer and nobody believed him. I believe that.
I like that one. Yeah. Anyway, that's true. He's probably got a T-shirt that says that too. But anyway, to me, I mean, Bigfoot's got a T-shirt. So anyway, to me, I think it's your intentions are good. They're gonna pick up on that. And here's what a lot of people told me. Say, you're a monster hunter. You hunt the monsters. What are you going to do with them when you find them? Definitely. You better have a contingent plan on it. Definitely. I said, well, and I will shoot him with a camera. That's what I want to do, just for my
Yes,
own purposes. But,
there you go.
if it came to a confrontation, definitely you need to be ready for something like that as well. Whether it's Bigfoot or a bear or whatever the situation is. I have seen these animals out there. I've seen bear and cougars and wolves and all that stuff. So you need to be ready for other things as well, not just Bigfoot. But you never know. And you don't want to meet Bigfoot on a bad day for him. You know what I mean? It might not go good that way either. And there are, I think, some that can be threatening to you. The
Yeah.
Native Americans know all about that, definitely, because they had some contentious times with some of them, especially them stealing women and abducting women and all that stuff, and taking them off for whatever purposes they wanted. That wasn't good. The Native Americans didn't like that. They had a very, what I call an uneasy truce with them, kind of. You know what I'm saying? You don't bother us, we don't bother you, kind of a thing going on. Okay. But there was I don't think there was no big trust there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think they trusted each other a whole lot, but it was an uneasy kind of a truce.
Yeah, I believe it varies from tribe to tribe, because if you go to tribe, they all have their different, obviously their different names for them and their different relationships with them. Some did war, some did trade, and yeah, I believe it. So, yeah, fascinating. I love it. Bigfoot.
That's true. Yeah, it was a different tribe to tribe, the interaction that they had, the different interactions they had with them. But abduction is not only connected with UFOs and Bigfoot. It was with the fairies and all that long ago. People get abducted a lot there, folks, by different entities. That's been going on for a long time, and I think that's where a lot of these missing. And I believe, without doubt, a lot of these missing people, BD, are being put into slavery. Okay, I think there's some of them not just going into trafficking, but into slavery as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, slavery is not dead. Matter of fact,
No, they say it's heavier now than ever
slavery is
before.
more prevalent. Slavery is more prevalent now than it has ever been in the history of the world.
I believe it. Yeah, a lot of
And
dark stuff going on in that world, and yeah, it's scary. It's scary, and yeah, we're learning more about that, and how a lot of things are tied, and it gets really weird. So yeah, get a grip, 2025. Yeah, we're keeping our eyes peeled. I did want to mention also of these. I've been calling them sky farts, but yeah, a lot of spraying activity also. Keep in mind we didn't touch on the fog, so we will really quick. We had that weird fog, and
mhm.
right after the drone activity in the New Year's, we got that fog just the other day here too. I noticed a strange headache, and so did some of our friends who were getting fog in different states. Uh, yeah, strange smells in the skies also. Could this stuff be causing some of our aches and pains? You were mentioning your some of your pains, Doc. I was telling you I had some recent back pain and some, again, the headache, and yeah, some weird stuff going on. So I'm paying attention to the skies as well, and there's just a whole lot of this spraying activity happening, and I'm just wondering if it's happening everywhere else. Is everyone getting that type of action in their skies? I wonder.
Let me tell you something, a very bizarre theory on some of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying this is true, okay? But then there's some of this stuff going on like this messing with the environment is geared to one thing, and that's kind of changing the human race into something else. They're using our environment, supposedly, this environmental attack, you might say. They're using these chemicals and stuff to change us into something else altogether. From what human beings are. You ever heard that?
Yes. Oh yeah. And
That's
yeah,
strange.
it's affecting everything, I think, on all levels. So it's really scary. So hopefully humanity here could get together and maybe make some big changes with that.
Well, that supposedly ties into the plan of the Nephilim, the fallen, that they're going
Little
to change
frightening.
the whole environment. Yeah, that's part of their plan to change the world of the Creator into their world. This is what they, and supposedly they did this a little bit before, and that's where you got the age of dinosaurs and stuff like. Supposedly, this manipulation has been going on for a long time, but that was supposed to be the outcome of their plan: is to change the human race into what they want it to be, other than what the Creator intended it to be. And that's the whole, you might say, crush of the plan. There, that would not surprise me one bit, BD, if that was not very true. That some of these forces out there are manipulating things to do that. I don't think they'll ever succeed though, because like you said earlier, I think there's more good guys out there than the bad guys. Okay, and I think they're working just as hard as the bad guys are, to counter this balance of things.
Yes. And I think yeah, I think through the collective consciousness also we could make
Yep.
changes to whatever we want. So let's get together and do some things. I don't mind. I love hanging out with folks.
Absolutely, these things are not out to just destroy our bodies; they're out for our souls as well. And that's where the
100.
battle is, and what the battle should focus on. And you're very right in that fact that that we need to start pushing back against these things, and we do it, and it starts with us, each one of us individually. It has to begin somewhere, like that old Chinese saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and it's time for us all to take that one step. And we do that beginning with ourselves. We open our conscious more to help our fellow man. Think about others instead of just thinking about ourselves. That's one thing we got to really work on right there. That is a big step right there in itself. If we start considering people over our own selves, And I was taught, I don't know, I'm sure you and I are somewhat slightly different generations here, but I was always taught, you know, put others before your own self. That's the way it works. That's the way you show true love to your fellow man, by putting your others in front of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And it cuts down on that selfishness that we all are bred into, especially in this age that we're living in now. We're all about ourselves and nothing else. That's the way it goes. And you're inundated with this. You're pounded day after day by the media with this stuff, the TV commercials, the games, the sports, the whole thing going on and on and on. It's brainwashing, is what it is, folks. So we got to start pushing back against this. And you're so right, Biddy. It begins, with us. It begins at the beginning with us, individual, and how we do things, and we
Agreed.
need to start thinking more good thoughts, more positive things in our lives. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah. No, I'm learning myself to be very careful of what I'm projecting as well these days, and how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. And that's another thing, I'm paying attention with the sky activity, is how I'm feeling, not only on a physical level, is how my body's feeling, but how I'm feeling in my mind and in other places. So yeah, just pay attention to what may be going on. I'm doing my best to, and yeah, anything I find out that I feel that is fishy, I share it out there, and I'm meeting more and more people that are experiencing the same stuff. And yeah, a lot of dark, negative stuff going on out there. But at the same time, I'm really enjoying this life run here. It's been a good one thus far, and I want to keep it going. And yeah, life is great, and we could make those changes. And yeah, it starts with ourselves, and little by little. And yeah, there's a lot of good things to focus on for sure. And I like to focus on those things as well. So
That's true. The more positive things we focus on, in our lives, that's the main thing that will change us into a more positive mood. You know, and it's like that old saying: the more light that's in you leaves a lot less room for the darkness. And that's the way that works, and that's the way we need to start. Trying to go towards that, and not become so selfish and wanting to do things for ourselves. We need to go outside of ourselves. That's what even faith in God is all about too. Believing in something other than yourself. You know and that gets things done. I'm a big believer of that, definitely. And until we do that, and we start doing that, we're not going to be engaging the right way in spiritual warfare, and pushing back against some of this dark stuff that's out there. That's trying to invade our lives and manipulation, open doorways to the negative. No wonder we have look at the drug use. This at all time high. There's never been this high before. Okay, people are looking for answers, unfortunately, in all the wrong places. And that's the way it goes in this world right now. And we need to. And when people, here's the thing about it: you can live your life in a much better mood, a much more positive way. People see that and said, "Hey, I want to be like that." It's like I think Jesus said in the Bible, "A city on a hill, you see it because it's lit up, for everybody to see." And if you're visiting, you're definitely going to the city on the hill. Um, it is an example for you too. He said you don't light your candle and put it under a bushel. You know, you need to let that light shine. And the more light you let in yourself, the more people see that. Have you ever seen anybody like that? You see somebody, oh, they got it all together, man. They look happy. I want to be that way.
right.
That's what people immediately say. I want to be like that. And they'll come up and ask you, you know, they'll come up and say, hey, what's driving you, man? What's going on with you? I want to know what your secret is.
Yep.
And so we don't need to keep it a secret, folks. Okay, we don't need to keep it in between us. We need to spread this out, because the more people see your example, and let me tell you this, okay, That's the way we learned. That's the way we learned how to talk and to walk and to do the things we did. Our parents and people around us were examples for us. That's how we learn, folks. That's how humanity learns, by examples and stuff. Okay. And when you put your example out there and it's good, people are gonna like it. That's how movie stars used to get started, okay? And actors and celebrities, you know. Unfortunately, some of them don't use that the right way. But anyway, um, that's the way it goes. And so when you put it out there, people are gonna, want it. They're gonna say, "Hey, I like that. That's more positive thing." Yeah, I want to know what your secret is.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, no, I can tell. I just mentioned it the other day too. We had just when I notice certain customers come in, I can tell when someone most likely has something going on, something good going on, and it's just something about their. People talk about the aura, and their vibe, and all that. You could sense it for sure. So, and yeah, I like that. And usually when I ask, yeah, they got something pretty cool going on. So. And those are the people I'd like to be around.
Stay away from them jive turkeys. That's very true. Stay away from negative people. And that's very true. You got to stay away from that because that rubs off on you if you're not careful. Negative people will affect you negatively. You don't. I'm not telling you to hate people. No, that's not right. You don't want to hate nobody for that. But you don't need to hang out with it. Is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to hang out with that because it will badly affect you. Try to go with the positive people. Okay, they got a much more better slant on that thing than the negative. And if you let negative people in your life, you're definitely. It's just like letting drugs in your life, alcohol, abusing that, or whatever the situation is. It's not going to come out good. It's going to give you a negative effect. If it affects you negatively, don't do it. Whatever it may be. You know. You don't need that because it messes you up. Not only physically, but spiritually as well. That's the way it works. And it gets your mind too, by the way, in the process. So you have to be very careful, how you deal with some of this. And then not just people, but things as well. You got to be careful with some things like drugs and all these other things. People get hooked on pornography, gambling, whatever the situation, power, money,
Food.
whatever the situation is, you don't need that, because it will
Yeah.
eventually what? It will destroy you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading some of the comments here. But anyway,
Yeah. Right
this,
on.
this has been great, man. I tell you what, we've been at this about an hour and a half now.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
is
we can hit
great.
that.
It's
We,
been
we
good
can
to
hit that
connect
half
with you.
hour and a half mark if you'd like. We could reach that.
Yeah, go on, man. Go on.
Get that
Well,
even.
it always flies and goes by fast when you're having a good time. Yeah, good
Oh
folks.
yeah. I can't believe we did an hour and a half already. I was like, whoa, that was quick. And yeah, you're right. When it's good, it flows. And I love when it flows. Where it
And you
flows, I
definitely got a
go.
lot going on out there. Absolutely. So be careful, okay?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
100. Yeah.
what's going on? Well, I know you're not going to get involved in a lot of that stuff, but sometimes it gets involved with you, whether you want to or
Oh
not.
yeah, it
Yeah, that's
comes
the way it
around.
goes.
Yeah, no, it's around. No, those negative elements are right outside this door here. There's a
Yeah,
lot
there
going
you go.
on. You could even
There you
see
go.
on some of the
Absolutely.
recent shares over on the post. I'm always sharing stuff there, and it just gives you an idea of what's happening here in the city, what's really happening, what's not being, some of it's being reported, but there's a lot of stuff that goes unreported, a lot of things that get ignored. It's like people are desensitized to a lot of the stuff happening, to the stuff in the skies, to the stuff happening on the streets and on all levels. There's a lot of oh, I'm gonna have trouble with that one. Yeah, we'll try that again. You know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people desensitized, and yeah, there's just, it's just, and there's a lot of people that are, obviously conscious and aware of these things too, and thank goodness for them. and make sure you support these people however you can. Oh yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, people like you and some of these podcasts they're doing and all this stuff, the different channels, getting out a more positive message. That's what we need to hook up with, that's what we need to listen to and support them.
Hmm.
Uh, vastly support these, because it's very important. The support is for these channels like yours, mine, whatever, and we're trying to get the message out there, and we're trying. Here's the good thing that we're trying to do, and I think you agree with me definitely on this, PD, because you are doing it, and we're trying. Is that the fact that we're trying to keep people from deceiving you in many ways? Well, and that's all about. It's like that saying, the truth is like a lion. You turn it loose and it will fight for itself, but you gotta first turn it loose, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying
I
to
like
turn the
that.
truth loose here, and and that's always good. Everybody benefits from that. That's a beneficial thing. I want to say one more thing. You mentioned something about the color blue. Okay, I want to tell everybody about this. There are three basic colors. Listen to this very closely. There are three basic colors that act as anti magic against dark things. Okay.
Mm.
And those colors are, listen to this. Are you ready? Red, white, and blue. Okay.
Wow.
Those are the three colors supposedly that work against the darkness. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting. Yes.
But and that's why they say a lot of the buildings with blue roofs made it through the fire, And I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but down here in the South, we paint our porches haint blue. You ever heard of that?
Yes, I have.
That keeps away what? Evil spirits. Okay.
Right on. Yeah. Super fascinating and interesting. And yeah, we've been talking about the red and blue. That's been coming up a whole lot in the occult, in media. We were talking about some of the plane activity also happening, a lot of planes going down and having malfunctions. There's been accidents, and
Mhm.
the whole red blue topic has been coming up, just like some of the logos of some of these airlines and other
Color.
places.
Colors.
Yeah.
Colors have a very interesting history.
Yes.
Colors, and we could do a show on that one because it is very deeply ingrained in a lot of stuff, not just witchcraft, but in a lot of things. Even the church supposedly went with certain colors. Look at the Crusader crosses. What color were they? Red. You know. So you got to look. You got to go back through history and look at this. So that's another thing we'll talk about next time we get together. Okay.
Oh yeah, sounds
Colors.
good. Anytime.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you being here. Tell everybody
Thank you, Doc.
how to hook up with you and what you got
Yeah,
going
you could reach me over. Well, if you look up a Bigfoot dwarf, that's why I made the change now to make it easier for people. But my handle is still at Brown Dwarf altogether. Brown Dwarf 4200. And there's a bunch of other links there to other platforms and ways to support. And yeah, super fun. We could do this anytime, Doc. Just give me that call, give me that heads up. And I appreciate you once again. Much love to you, Doc, and respect for checking in on us during the fire situation out here. You're one of the few people reaching out. Actually, there's quite a lot of you that reached out through the YouTube, but actually you sent me text messages and stuff like that, which was super cool. And it's always nice to have that love and that friendship of people checking in with you when things are happening. And we do our best to do the same for others. And yeah, I appreciate everything, and much love to everyone out there as well. Stay tuned. We might be going live later tonight. We do these random late lives, and during the day too. We're going live a whole lot now, so getting some things together. Some things are always brewing here on the channel, so come check us out. We appreciate your support, and again, thank you, Dr. Dennis Carroll.
Well, tell them everybody to head on over there and give you some love and subscribe there. Okay, definitely.
Right
And
on.
you are my man on the West Coast. Okay, so you don't get a check though. I'm sorry, but
Oh, no worries. No worries.
if I
Don't
could, I would.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we're not there yet, Doc. But you know, you never know. So don't, you know, we don't. We trust the process.
There you go. I hear you.
Uh,
All right. Well, I appreciate you, man, and we will definitely get together and cover some more ground on this because we just kind of scratched the surface tonight. Okay, folks. We had a little bit of a dent there, but
Roger
that's
that.
it. Uh, we got a lot more we're gonna definitely have to get into with another show very soon. And appreciate you being here, man. And you take care of yourself out there. Keep an eye on your
Likewise.
six, okay?
Yes,
And
you too. You as
keep your
well.
head.
And I got your back.
There you go. Yep. And absolutely. And appreciate it. Appreciate you and much love to you, man. And we will be supporting that channel definitely. We'll get some more subscribers for you going and everything. Absolutely. We'll keep you up there. That's one thing I do on the show here. I try to promote a lot of my friends' stuff out there, you know, and keep it pushed out there for people to see. That's like I say, all of this is like trying to sell a used car, okay, folks? You got to advertise it for people to know it's for sale. So that's what we got to do, definitely. But I appreciate you, man, and you take care of yourself
Take
out
care.
there.
Likewise. Good night, everyone. Take care, everyone.
All right. That's a great guy there. I love that guy. He's a good fellow there. Appreciate him. I really do. And I appreciate you all being here tonight. Definitely, it's been a fascinating discussion, and I want to tell all of you about Friday night. Be here for Paranormal Point of View at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, and tomorrow I will be appearing on Aquarius Rising Africa at high noon. So you might want to check that out for part 3 of the Real Society. They're not through with us yet, folks. Definitely not. I hope to see you all there, and I appreciate your support 110%. It's been a great night and good to see you all here. My family has assembled again, and it's always good to see you. Coco, good to see you, dear, and I appreciate you so much. You too, girl, Nagong, and Crystal, and Head Trip, and all the rest of you out there. I appreciate it. If I didn't name you, I'm still thinking about you anyway, okay? And yep, that's Jessica's channel right there. Please check it out, support it, and please check out my good friend Midwest channel. It's one of us Aquarius Rising Air folks. And here's Jessica's channel. And I've got Midwest Night Watchers up here. I scratched the surface on some of them. And go check out my good friend Bigfoot Dwarf. I like that name better. Bigfoot Dwarf. Okay. That sounds very interesting. That sounds very good. I like that. But I appreciate you all until we get together again. Don't forget, you know, like I said earlier, the truth is like a lion. Turn it loose and it will fight for itself. And that's what we're trying to do. Let's keep that truth going out there, okay? Keep the love and the truth going, and the light will go with us, definitely. All right. So keep a hold of that light out there, and remember, you know, uh, the truth will win in the end. Absolutely. Until we get together again, then. All right. Godspeed, my friends. Godspeed. The hunt has begun. Hunting the shadows.